LCR Creating Careers, and we're joined today by Phil Jones, who works for Mersey NHS Foundation Trust as a Workforce Governance Officer. Hi Phil.
Hi Jill.
Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Our students are looking forward to a really informative session. And students, you should have completed the pre-work that we've actually set for this session. All the links are on the screen below. So thanks Phil once again for joining us today. And I think to start us off with, it'd be really good to tell the students a little bit about the new role that you've taken up recently with Mersey as this Workforce Governance Officer. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay, so I joined Mersey in August of this year, 2020. I left a organisation I was with for nearly 20 years and moved into a completely different sector. Part of the Workforce Governance Officer role is I work with a small team, liaise with a lot of different stakeholders and different directors amongst different divisions within the trust. I help arrange meetings, diary management of all of the executives and directors, job evaluation panels, which is when a new job comes in for the trust. We do a profile and match it against the national profile to determine what pay band it comes out in the NHS. I'm also part of the Career Ambassador Network at Mersey as I've done stuff like this in the past in other companies as well. Being present at the meetings gives me a really good insight into what goes on within the different divisions and what developments and initiatives they've got going on in the trust. So it is really interesting. It's a lot different than what I've done in the past.
Yeah.
But it is really exciting, and I know I took a lot out of it in the short time that I've been here already.
And what attracted you to want to work in the NHS? Was there anything specifically, or something that you'd always wanted to do?
Yeah, it's, to be honest, I think when you think of the NHS, you just think of doctors and nurses. When you look into it a little bit further, the career opportunities within the NHS and in particular Mersey is really vast. I knew a little bit about Mersey and what they were doing and what was under their umbrella, but not to the level that I know now. Now I work here, or once I've looked into it prior to me interview and stuff like that. Obviously, the NHS has been in the news quite a lot recently with the pandemic and all the work that is going on, which is fantastic that everybody's doing. And when this opportunity come up and I looked into it further, it was the right opportunity at the right time for me. Really exciting, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say as well that obviously our students will have done the pre-work, so they'll know a little bit more about Mersey about the vast array of different roles and jobs that are actually available within Mersey I think as well from a perspective of you, I suppose, joining and the application process, all the jobs in the NHS, they're all based really on a values driven. And what we mean by that is within the application form, the students really need to focus on what they can show in terms of their skills and their experience within their life, and actually bring that into that application process. So how did you find that actually doing your job application and being able to bring your real life experiences through?
Yeah, the application process was an online form initially, and it was based around competency questions, even at the interview stage, based on my experiences in the past. When I was invited to the interview, the 2-to-1 interview, it was more drilling down into them competencies, like give me examples of specific situations when you've dealt with such an incident, or a different example of when you've dealt with different scenarios, and going into more depth that way, Jill. Part of my preparation for my interview, which would advise any student, is to learn and research the organisation or the company that you're going for an interview for, and really look into the values. No doubt you will be asked on what the company values are and how you can contribute towards that as well. Learn to understand and relate to the values. That's the best advice that I could give, and I'd done that prior to my interview, and them questions were asked around the values.
And I think from a student perspective as well, I think certainly looking at the NHS, there is a lot of information on websites, on each of the different NHS Trust websites around the values and the attitudes that the Trust are looking for. So it's definitely a key point really for our students to look at.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I'd 100% recommend do homework, do preparation, learn about the organisation, learn about the trust, and the values are going to be on the website in all sorts of different formats for whatever trust you're looking at.
Yeah.
I would definitely do some homework and some preparation work around the values.
So you mentioned before that you've obviously changed role and been somewhere else for quite a number of years, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But how did it feel then starting a brand new organisation? How did they make you feel? How was you welcomed by the team? How do you feel that you've actually fit in then?
Yeah, it was strange. I can't lie. I was at my last organisation for, as I say, almost 20 years. And I was working in the private sector. So now I moved over to the public sector, and I'm doing a job that is completely different than what I've been used to. So, I've had to pick up different terminologies, different acronyms of things, different ways of working, meeting lots of new people. But, with my people skills that I've developed over my career and my transferable skills that I have, I've found it quite rewarding actually, and I think I've fit in really well. One massive thing that I've had to adapt to is working from home. So I've started in this new organisation, the Mersey NHS Foundation Trust, solely working from home. So I've not met anybody in the organisation face to face. It's all been done via Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, etc. So I'm building my relationships up with people virtually. So it's coming to a new organisation is challenging anyway. We can't say that it isn't, but to have to do it virtually is just another step. But everybody's made me feel so welcome. I've felt part of Mersey Care almost since the day that I've started here. Everybody's approachable. If I'm not sure of anything, I know who to go and ask. I'm not afraid to go and ask. But yeah, everybody's made me feel welcome, and I've said this to people here and some of the directors and team members, HR people in meetings that I've been in. I can't be made to feel any more welcome. I feel part of Mersey Care since almost day dot. So whilst we're working in these challenging times, I don't think there's anything else that me personally I could have asked for in this way of working.
Yeah, and I think it's like anything else, isn't it? We all would feel anxious and a little bit nervous about going into something new and doing something new. And our students will be no different to that. I think what our students have got to believe in as well is the fact that you've got the job on the merits of what you've actually gone through at the interview stage, and the company, the employer that you're going to work for want to work with you. So it's natural to be anxious, a little anxiety before you get there, but actually it's great to hear that the teams make you feel welcome.
Yeah, and I think
open the doors to you.
Yeah, and there is going to be some anxiety of doing something that maybe you've not done before or people you've not met before, but it's how you overcome that. If you be confident and you've done, as you say, Jill, you're here on merit. I'm here on merit. I'm not here through luck or by chance. I've worked hard to be where I am.
So Phil, you mentioned before about transferable skills, and I think that there's a lot of skills that we all pick up through school and college, and when we actually start to work somewhere. What sort of transferable skills have you adapted to and learnt along the way that you've actually been able to bring with you into Mersey Care?
Yeah, I've developed a lot of people skills throughout the time in my career. That's been a really good really good transferable skill for myself. Being confident in my ability, as we said before. I've worked hard in my career to get where I've wanted to be, and I've done relevant studies, which we could probably talk about a bit later on. And it's about how you adapt as well, and make sure that you listen, you fully understand the task in hand, and ask questions if you don't understand as well. People skills, transferable skills, I've developed them throughout my career. From the career I, started off working in a hotel when I was 16, with a goal to want to become cabin crew. I know which we're going to come on to a bit later, but it was the people skills and the transferable skills I took from my part-time hotel job when I was 16. I took that onto my next career as well.
And I'm presuming as well when we talk about that it was skills that you learnt within that very first job in the hotel that actually provides you with the opportunity to be able then to go on and do what you did.
Yeah, definitely. I worked there for 2 years. I started at a new hotel in the city centre when it first opened, and I worked there part-time for a year, and then when I finished my studies in sixth form, I was taken on there full-time, so I stayed an extra year with a goal to wanting to forge a career for myself within the airline industry.
And so where did you go to then? So tell us a little bit about where you've been for the last, dare I say, a few years.
Okay, a few years. The grey hair says that. The last few years, when I was 20, I was successful in my application to become cabin crew for EasyJet. I started off as cabin crew, moved up to cabin manager about 6 years later, and then was doing some cabin crew recruitment, some training on the flights as well with other members of the crew. I was promoted to a line trainer, and then I moved into a managerial role within the airline. I was the assistant manager of Liverpool for 9 months, and then I moved over to Belfast for career progression, and I was the assistant cabin crew manager in Belfast for 3 years. Then after that, I was promoted back to Liverpool as the cabin crew manager. So I was the line manager of over 250 cabin crew based in Liverpool Airport. Basically the HR manager looking after welfare, on-time performance, and things like that. It was really rewarding. Stayed as the cabin crew base manager for 4 years, yeah. And then moved over to become the pilot manager. So that was really exciting, a complete different challenge that I was used to, or what I was used to for the last 17 years. And I was working as the line manager for all the pilots based at Liverpool, 150 pilots, in a non-technical aspect. So again, looking after the welfare, the people management side of things, the operational side of things as well. So that was the last 19 years in a nutshell.
And I think if you look back when you started off working in the hotel, you most probably never thought that you'd go through all those different job roles and the pathway that you actually took.
Completely.
And I think that again is something for our students to think about, that you know that the opportunities that you get once you actually start work, and a lot of it is around what your goals are, and along that journey you keep setting new goals.
Yeah, definitely.
Aspirations, and you want to progress and move forward. So I think that's is a really good lesson in terms of sort of your career history, really.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to touch on as well, I mean, albeit, you know, you had a great job at EasyJet and you were doing different roles and progressing on, you still had that, I suppose, that desire to still want to do more in terms of your own personal journey. So I know that you obviously went and did some additional exams and went back to college. So do you just want to tell us a little bit about that and your reasons why you wanted to do that?
Yeah. So I went back to college a couple of years ago to study CIPD, which is a HR qualification, a level 5 qualification it was in CIPD HR. And I done that for personal development. Where the path that my career's followed, I was doing human resources constantly for the last few years, albeit in different capacities and in different roles and different scenarios. And I had an opportunity in my life to go back to college and study. It was something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but you know, family reasons, I've got 2 children, circumstances didn't permit at the time. And then I had this window of opportunity to go back and do something that I've always wanted to do. I self-funded the course to subsidise what I was doing, you know, to support what I was doing in my career. I took a lot from the course, really, really enjoyed it. And then one of the criteria for the job at Mersey Care was the level 5 CIPD diploma in human resource management. So it all worked out well in the end for me.
Yeah. So having that desire to go and do some further studies for something that obviously you've been interested in has then led you on to actually getting this new role. Career.
Yeah, completely. Without the qualification, you know, there's no doubt I wouldn't have met the criteria for the interview for the workforce governance officer at Mersey Care.
Yeah. And so just going back to maybe school life, and has there been a key person at any stage through school or through your career, maybe that you've worked with that's inspired you?
There's been several people along the way that have inspired me. I can't put my finger on one person exactly, but what I found is that I'd pick up some good behaviors, I think's the right word to say, off a lot of people, but I've also picked up behaviors off people that I'd think, well, I'd do that a little bit differently. You know, there's good aspects to some people and there's bad aspects to some people, not in a work capacity, I mean, in the way people work. I'd say the what I try to do and I focus on is not only making myself proud, but making my family proud as well. You know, when I graduated the college and we had the cap and gown and stuff like that, you know, first person I invited was my mum. You know, for her to see that made it for me, that fulfilled everything I was trying to achieve. You know, there's been family members throughout me career, my life that I've wanted to make proud. My dad, my grandparents and things like that. So, you know, I've used them as a platform for me to do better, to make them proud and make them happy as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose finally, just to finish our session today, is the one key message that you'd give to our students to inspire them to really focus on what they want to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. One massive piece of advice I'd give is don't give up. You know, if you set yourself a goal, other goals, as you said earlier, Jill, will come of that. You don't once your goal's been achieved, other doors open and other avenues open. And, you know, just believe in yourself, put the effort in, take what you can out of different scenarios, different situations. There is going to be setbacks along the way. You know, I've been doubted quite a bit in my career, but it's how you bounce back from that. So just believe in yourself, don't give up, and just keep pushing to achieve, I wouldn't say the end goal, because it's just a continuous goal.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks, Phil. That's been a really, really good session this morning, and I hope that, you know, our students take a lot out of what you've talked about. Students, there's post work that you can complete after this session, and if you've got any further questions, I'm sure that Phil will be only too happy to answer them. So if you want to send them into the Careers Hub at growthplatform.org, and we'll make sure that Phil comes back to us and we'll get those questions and answers back out to you. So thank you, and thanks for joining today.
Thank you.